He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall, and I guess you just rhyme with Bat Minutes!
I was hoping you'd drop in. Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minutes and Robin, the podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and take to the skies with each minute of Joel Schumacher. I was still about to say Tim Burton again.
We always do that, don't we?
Every time, I was so proud that I didn't say Bat Minute forever. And then I left myself open. The ball's up like a mere 2 seconds later.
Well, you know, we're known for our slip-ups.
Yeah, well, but anyway, Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
And here to aid in Freeze's chilling escape, it is your other host, John Parker.
Hey. And today we're joined by a newcomer to the show.
What?
Getting some new blood, some cold new blood.
That's most unorthodox.
Yes, it's a new guest. It's highly unorthodox, but I'll allow it. Yes, we have all the way from the Gaming Fix podcast, one Allyson Cygan.
Hi, nice to talk to you guys. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah.
This is...
I should also double check. Is it Allyson Cygan or Cygan? Or
it's Cygan.
Cygan. Sorry,
I am so used to people not pronouncing it right that I'm just like, at this point, if you attempt it, I'm like, oh, good going.
Plus, you know, Niall, you're Irish, so people just think, it's just an accent thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's totally what it was. I actually pronounced it correctly, but you just did. You misheard it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm just so used to people going Allyson. That I'm just like, oh, you tried. Good for you.
I'm just excited to have a gamer on the podcast because I'm usually the only one, and I'm just talking into the wind, and nobody knows what I'm on about.
That's like I'm so not a gamer. It's like one of my friends has lent me his PS4 to play that Spider-Man game 2 weeks ago.
It was good.
And I've not yet, it's been 2 weeks, I've still yet to plug the console in.
You fool.
I mean, man, that game is so good, though. Like,
it's partially, though, because I know that it is going to be great, and I will become obsessed with it. So it's kind of like, once that starts, I know it's not going to stop for a while.
Well, yeah. I think the thing about that game, though, is that it's I mean, all video games are kind of longer than movies, obviously, but, that game is I feel like a perfect length. So you're not, it's not like you're getting into a 120-hour JRPG where you're like, oh no, this is going to take over my life for the next few months.
And today we're here to talk about minute 10. We're in the double digits here, so no going back now.
I know that really threw me off when I was writing my notes because I always write them minute, like 001, 002. So I was like 00...
10.
Wait. Yeah, that's why. And I was like, no, delete 010.
But yeah, minute 10 begins with a lunatic and his loot, and it ends a minute later with a rocket going through a chute. So, we should say though, Allyson, straight off the bat, this was your first dance with Batman and Robin. You're coming to this.
It was, yeah. I am a relative newcomer to Batman. I mean, I've known of Batman for my whole life. I mean, obviously, because of cultural osmosis. I've seen a couple of movies, but I haven't seen any of this series of the movies that either Tim Burton or Joel Schumacher. So this was my first go around, and what a one to start off with, man.
Yeah, we've given you the most divisive one of all because I mean the Tim Burton ones are pretty much universally loved and agreed upon that they're great. But the Joel Schumacher, well, his first one, Forever, is... Some people love it, some people hate it. Whereas this one...
I kind of love it. Oh, it's... So, okay, so it's... I felt like watching it felt very similar to my feelings with something like Jupiter Ascending, right? Where it's like... It makes big choices, and I can't help but love it for that. Are they good choices? not really, but they're fun choices, and I appreciate movies that take a big swing even if it's just a big miss. Yeah. So I think that's kind of where I'm at with it, where I don't think it's particularly good, but I was entertained throughout. So
I think that's what I don't know if you're aware, like, you might be through cultural osmosis right enough, but there was a massive backlash to this film when it came out, and it was blamed for killing the franchise for years. And Joel Schumacher has said, like, if I offended anyone with this, I honestly apologize, but all I ever wanted to do was to entertain people. And it's like, so there you go. Like, that's what all he was going for, was entertainment.
I was entertained, and any time that I wasn't entertained was when it was like trying to be serious or anything. Anytime I was trying to go like campy, off the wall, I was just like, I am here for this. Mm-hmm. It was great.
I think that might have been, though, the prior film to this, Batman Forever, is like a real mixed bag in that, like, it's kind of still a bit darker. It's kind of it's kind of got a slight edge to it and stuff, but it also does have like Jim Carrey. Zany, right. Being zany as all hell.
Well, I think that's the problem with the last one, really. It's got one foot in Tim Burton's world and one foot in Joel Schumacher's world.
I think Allison's reaction to this movie is kind of pretty much what ended up happening to the direction the films went, because I think they said they had test screenings, because there was a whole bunch of Batman Forever got cut down. And now fans are demanding it be put back in and stuff. But it was all this psychological stuff about Bruce Wayne. And apparently the test audiences were like, don't care about that. I just want to see Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones with a purple face been crazy and stuff. And they're like,
see, that makes this make a lot of sense. Yeah. It's like, okay, that's what you want. Well, I'm going to give it to you. And then nobody wanted it. I feel like I would, if I was Joel Schumacher, I'd be like, what do you even want from me?
Well, I think there's perfect proof you cannot please the fanboys.
Oh, no.
They're always going to be annoyed no matter what you do. So just make your movie the way you want to make your movie.
Although, one thing I should say before we start this minute, in terms of making sure pleasing everybody who's listening, would be remiss if I didn't mention, I forgot to bring up something last week during Mr. Freeze freezing that Brachiosaurus. Because we spent a long time talking about the dinosaur in Batman's Batcave. But fans of the Batman animated series might remember from the Mr. Freeze episode Cold Comfort, which aired in October of 1997, so a few months after this movie came out. That episode begins with Mr. Freeze breaking into a museum and freezing a Brachiosaurus, like a Brachiosaurus skeleton. And it's kind of weird because there's a lot of little things in that episode where they've obviously been told kind of riff on Batman and Robin a little bit. Like,
they probably, when they were doing it, were told, like, oh, you've got to put that in because, everyone's going to love that scene in the movie. It's going to be the biggest scene.
Yeah, they probably were. Just like, yeah, this will, just sort of like do a couple of things that are in the movie. Like, they have little nods. Well, obviously, there's that at the beginning. Midway through, Mr. Freeze does break into an art museum as well, and this is supposed to be an art museum that they're in, even though it's clearly a history museum they're in the middle of. But there's also a little bit, too, where Batgirl and Batman are tracking Mr. Freeze. And Batman's like, don't lose that signal. And Batgirl's like, as if. And it's like, as if is the catchphrase of Cher Horowitz from Clueless, who, of course, was paid by Alicia Silverstone. And it's just little things like that where you're like, well, we have fun making the show over here.
I see what you're doing there.
Yeah. But it's very odd that the timing of that, because I think we mentioned prior to this, they did make the Batman Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero animated movie, which was pushed back and released in 1998 because of the backlash to this movie. And that has like the old school original Batman animated series animation, all the designs and stuff. But that Cold Comfort episode is part of like the revamped series where they redesigned everybody. And so it's weird that came out first, and it has continuity to things that happened in Sub-Zero. But that didn't come out until the next year because this movie didn't do so well. So
that's far too complicated.
Yeah, I'm just thankful. I'm sure when I was 10 years old, I didn't notice any of that at all. But for the purposes of like just saying we covered everything, we covered that. I'm sure people have sent emails and letters and ravens to be like, you didn't mention the Brachiosaurus getting frozen in the goddamn TV show. But
or messenger bats, of course.
Oh, God.
We get another, I was going to say a rare time that Freeze doesn't make a joke. But I said this last week. He did it last week as well. Because he catches the diamond and he's like, "Thanks for playing." Is that like a hockey?
I guess.
Yeah.
I thought it might have been a sly reference to Batman Forever, because like in the climax of that movie, they do the whole Jeopardy thing, and the Riddler goes at one point like, "Oh, your answer must come in the form of a question, but thank you for playing." And I was like, that's part of the climax of that movie. I don't know if "thanks for playing" was a callback to that, but I doubt it. But like, maybe
that would be a lot more subtle than the rest of this movie is trying to be.
I think that's the thing. Yeah. It's got to be on the nose.
Yeah, as subtle as this tank that Mr. Freeze is driving.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is another example, again, of the sort of toyetic approach of this movie, isn't it?
Yes. I don't know what to make of this as just on any design level.
No, it's amazing and it's stupid all at once.
Oh, yeah. It's like kind of the summary of the whole film right there, really.
Oh, that's what I said. I was like, amazing and stupid is kind of this movie.
It is, and that's not a bad thing. Stupid is fun, and this tank thing is fun.
I don't get, though, like, the spikes at the front. Because everything's like, they put a lot of effort into designing things in this. And I guess you could claim it went back as far as the Kilmer Mobile, where, you know, John, you frequently complained that looked like a toy. And it looked very flimsy because of the fin would wobble on it and stuff.
Yeah.
But this thing has like all these big spiky battering ram things. But it looks like if you tried to drive into a wall, they would instantly fall off.
Yeah.
They would instantly snap. They don't look like they've got any kind of strength to them.
Yeah, but if you had a toy and you were knocking over like foam cubes, it would look real sick with spikes on the front.
That was my favorite toy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It also kind of weirdly reminds me of, one, it's like a kind of Mad Max car crossed with a Dalek, because it's got that weird laser kind of hulking about in the front as well.
Okay.
But it really brought to mind Robot Wars.
That's what I thought of.
Oh my gosh.
Did you have that in America? I saw that you had... There was another one, wasn't there? There was... What's the American one?
There was...
BattleBots
what was it called? Yeah. I can't remember. I just remember I watched some of those, and it's like one of those things where you see it and you're like, as a kid, and you're like, this is... I cannot imagine anything cooler than this.
You know, my problem
robots
with it...
fighting each other. It's like, oh.
My problem with it was always like the concept, like you're describing it there, it sounds so cool. You're like, oh my God, yes. And then when you actually watch it in practice, it's very boring.
I mean, it's like the idea of robots fighting in your head is always going to be better than what you could actually make.
Yeah.
I think it was always just the fact that it gave voice to a bunch of like, whenever people present their really cool robot, and it's like, oh, it's got like a flamethrower on it, and like a buzzsaw on the back, and it's like, oh, it looks so cool. And then you see the people who made it, and they're just like pasty middle-aged men, and they're like, yes, well, this at the back, this is designed to poke things, and it's just like, it doesn't, the people, I guess anyone who designs cool things is probably going to turn out to be a very sort of disappointing person when you see them, but they're like, oh, these guys, you know, it stands to reason. Of course nerds ended up being the ones who made the robots. But just seeing them, and then seeing them with the little remote control, getting their ass handed to them out on the thing, it's kind of heartbreaking.
That was my other favourite bit of the whole thing, was like, they've spent a year building this masterpiece that they're so proud of, and then the house robots just smash them to pieces in 5 seconds.
Yeah, and the robot that, you know, it's like, oh, I have all these cool features, but the robot that has like a giant hammer or something like that is going to always win, because it's like, oh yeah, look at all these features. It's nothing compared to the powerful force of just one that's just slamming down on top of it.
Or the other good one was there'd always be one that had like a flipper. So it would just come and flip your robot over.
Oh,
like,
yeah. It's like, there, you did it.
Loser.
There'd always be the one then that have like, oh no, but we've designed our robot with a flip backer on it. So, but then they'll end up landing at an awkward angle, so they couldn't use that either. And they end up in like, so Sergeant Bash has just driven this thing into the flames now, and it's just and you can just see like the little kid that they've got to control the robot, and his dad just like, okay, well, that's the last year down the toilet.
I love that. Someone should have made this Freeze-mobile, as it's called. I looked that up. What an original name. Someone should have made that on Robot Wars.
That would have been the best. Like in like cross promotion, right? Like I don't know. Would it have come out too late or like the show? Was the show on when?
Ooh, I don't think we got it until a little bit later, did we? No.
I think it was definitely late 90s, but this might well have been in development. See what they could actually look up. American Robot Wars. What it was called.
I think wasn't it BattleBots or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. BattleBots, and that started in 2000. So. Yes.
We definitely had Robot Wars before 2000 because in 2000 I moved abroad. So I won't have seen it, but I saw it. So
Apparently, Robot Wars. Yes, the UK started in 1998.
There you go.
So there you go. But it was something though, if they saw the creators of that show saw this and they're like, I would love to see a miniature version of that machine he's got, just ramming into like machines that are more poorly made, and eradicating the dreams of small children. I did notice that the license plate seems to just say 0. I kind of wish it just said -0, so it's Sub-Zero. But
I thought it was 0 like 0 degrees Celsius, freezing.
It could be that as well. But I was like, yeah.
I mean, that's a little too intellectual for America. Let's be honest.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you don't use Celsius. That's even more. That's an extra level of thinking.
Yeah, it's revealed then at the back of this truck is actually a rocket ship, which is like, I guess. Crooks are trying to outthink Batman. It's like, I get it, you won't see this one coming, because why would you ever anticipate that he's built this massive tank that also seems that the majority of it to house a rocket that's in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
But
yeah, because it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna build a drilling machine that can drill into the earth. What's the best use for that? I know, putting a rocket in there as well.
Maybe his plan was going to cool the planet by launching this freezing rocket into the core of the Earth.
Yeah, ends up wasting it.
Yeah.
That's more logic than I thought about it. So
I'm really stretching for ideas here, though. Because why is that on a drilling truck? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I have to wonder, how much of this is pre-planned by Mr. Freeze? Did he always know? Oh, I'm going to escape in my rocket. Or is this just more like, okay, Batman's here, I guess now. Oh, impromptu, I'm escaping in the rocket.
This is my just-in-case rocket that I build into all of my things just in case I need it.
We've all got one.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, I'm out my Audi 5000 rockets. I'm out. Because even when Batman does eventually get into the rocket, he is just like, I was hoping to drop in. It's kind of it's the whole thing like a preemptive... I get, because this is the start of his crime wave. Maybe Mr. Freeze is a real go-getter, and he's like, I'm addressing the problem head on. I know Gotham City. They're definitely going to have Batman. I mean, we know Two-Face was always trying to kill Batman in the last movie, but that was distinctly trying to trap him for revenge purposes. This is more like, I know I'm going to go on a crime spree. These two assholes are likely to show up. So what I'll do is I'll bring my rocket with me, and then I'll use that to escape, and hopefully I'll be able to kill them via this rocket as well.
So he's playing the ultimate 40 chess with his planning, where he's like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm going to set this all up so I can lure in Batman, so I can get rid of Batman, so I can do my real plan. Yeah. And it's he is thinking 10 steps ahead.
The rocket starts to launch, tilts out of the Freeze mobile, and you hear that phrase sometimes. That's sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, but look at this thing, and it's like, Joel, dude, subtlety is not your strong suit.
Oh, you're thinking phallic.
I can't think, and it looks like a slow rising erection as it's coming up this thing.
This movie literally starts with shots of their asses. I'm not necessarily, I wouldn't be shocked if that's what he was thinking.
Well, I'm 100% thinking that's, he was like, yeah, it's like a giant penis going up.
I tell you what though, right, this movie has a lot more gratuitous body shots in it, but it's nowhere near as horny as the last film.
Well, yet. We'll see as we go on, though.
Oh, I think that last movie is just wall to wall horny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was, don't know if you've ever seen Batman Forever, Allyson, but Nicole Kidman's character, her whole thing is that she's horny for Batman.
Yeah.
And not in a subtle way. She's just constantly trying to shag Batman.
That's kind of amazing because the spoilers for later in this movie, but one character's whole thing is I'll use my powers of sexuality to do everything.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. It's like they learned the wrong lessons from Batman Returns, where you've got Catwoman. Because, yeah, she's trying to sleep with Batman, but it's in a very different way, isn't it? It's in a very... she is the one in control. She's the one with the power. And it's almost like they just went, oh, yeah, we just need some woman trying to sleep with Batman. It's fine. It's like, no, you're missing the point.
I think that was apparently in the early stages of Batman Forever, they were also going to use Poison Ivy, and Joel Schumacher wanted Nicole Kidman to play that character, and then they went, oh no, too many villains, and then just kind of kept the whole really sexually obsessed woman played by Nicole Kidman, and then just I guess we can use her in this. Oh, we can't get Nicole Kidman back for that role now. I guess they could have just I don't know, dyed her hair or put a mustache on her and pretending it was a different woman or something.
I'm behind that. That sounds great. And,
but no, this thing is slowly going up here, and Batman then does what Batman does in any given situation all the goddamn time. Gets out his grappling hook.
Well, it solves all problems, doesn't it?
It's weird though, because we do get a little as Batman is ascending. But I thought it was a bit of an awkward shot, though, because, it's clearly just wire work, and that, fair enough, that's what you have to do. But
yeah, but this is better than the rest of the wire work we've had so far.
It's just odd, though, because you see, he's obviously shooting it out of his arm, and then he has to lift up the other arm, and then his whole body weight just kind of ascends, and it really does not... you can pretty much tell, he ain't going up from this grappling hook. He's obviously got a bunch of more wires attached around his waist, and they're just hoisting him up. Yeah. Because if he was to do that with his arm would get ripped off, and it just looks awkward and weird to me. It's like I guess so much effort did go into designing things in this movie. So that that neat little he's got it all tucked away in a gauntlet in his arm. Then it pops out, and then it's a grappling hook. That's someone sat down and organized all that, and that's great. And then in practical effects, when it comes to the movie, it's it looks a bit stupid though, doesn't it? It just looks a bit cheap and lame.
It's like they thought about this movie in stills.
Yeah. Or just in toy designs. Where they're
oh, yeah. I mean, I could definitely see that too. And I mean, to be honest, as a child of the 90s, I would have, if I had seen this at the time, I'd be like, okay, buy me those toys.
Yeah.
So it's I get it, but at the same time.
I had all kinds of stupid Turtles toys, for instance. I had a hovercraft that shot pizzas or something. And it's
listen, I mean, hey, that sounds pretty great. So
I mean, it was cool. You could take it in the bath. So you're yeah.
Ooh, those are good. The ones where you could take them in the bath and they change colors or something, and you're like, this is the height of technology right here.
Yeah. And I had a Donatello that could swim.
Ooh.
Yeah, obviously you just wound it up and then let it go, but it's it's swimming.
I
Right.
think it's why not make it shoot sewer lids? Because
it might have done that. I'm trying to remember.
Shooting pizzas feels like it's thinking steps ahead, where it's you use it as a weapon and then also as a lovely snack device.
That's true. Shoot it onto your dinner table.
Second, I just can't imagine the Turtles willingly giving up pizza to just shoot at other people. Though you think
that's true.
Although I never understood because in order for the Turtles and the pizza thing to work, they have to have some kind of income. Because they're always ordering pizzas. I was they don't have jobs. So they're supposed to be, heroes. And are they going out and robbing people to steal their money so they can order pizzas? How does that work? What's happening?
That is an excellent question. Maybe... Nope. Got nothing.
I think that early 2000s CGI one had Donatello working as someone in a call center, but he was doing it from the sewer. And it's at least he's pulling in some cash to pay for these damn pizzas, because otherwise it makes no sense where they're getting the money from.
Yeah. Well, you could say the same about Batman. Where did the villains get the money? I know Freeze steals diamonds. Okay.
But this seems to be well, that's the thing, though. It's not the first, because later on, he's just like, oh, one more giant diamond of this size. And it shows he's got loads of other diamonds. So it's like, this ain't his first crime.
But he's not spending the diamonds. Like, he's not using income.
Or has he gotten so many diamonds that he's just like, I'm just going to keep some? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe actually. Yeah, maybe the inferior ones he sells on. And then he keeps the ones he needs for his scheme.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know. This thing, but because he is a acclaimed research scientist. Maybe he's still getting funding. But like they like some well-to-do
Bruce is still funding it.
Yeah, it turns out Bruce Wayne is actually funding this research. It's like, holy crap! That's what he's spending on making a giant tank with a rocket in the back of it.
Why isn't that a plot point? Because we know that Bruce funds science. Because you see that in the last film.
It'll be like a callback to '89. They'll have a flashback of Victor Freeze in Wayne Manor during a party, and he's just like, the research grant, and it's like, Alfred, give Freeze a grant, and just walks away. He's like, oh yes, I believe all that money is coming from the Wayne Foundation.
He funds all.
That would be the best. Is like, listen, you are both funding yourself and you're funding all these supervillains. You need to like chill it out with some of this money,
like the U.S. military.
You're not wrong.
Well, we do it too, so it's fine.
That'd be great though. If that was the reason things kicked into high gear in the third act. It wasn't because he thinks Nora Freeze is dead. It's because he goes to check his ATM and he's like, "Oh, they've cut my funding. First Gotham, then the world." It's like, I've had it with coping with these goddamn unreliable billionaires.
It would be better. It would.
So Batman leaps in to the Freeze capsule in the back here, and I do kind of enjoy his landing because he kind of seems like he's a bit shocked that he's just staring at the back of it. He kind of lands in like, aha! Oh, crap, he's not here. And then turns around and Mr. Freeze is actually there instead. And again, Freeze jumps in and does a little, happy you could drop in. Which again, missed opportunity because that's the perfect ice to see you. Like right there.
Oh.
It's right there. I do enjoy the fact that like Mr. Freeze then just gives Batman like a backhanded slap. And just like sends him flying.
He beats the crap out of him, really. It's like, bam! It's very disrespectful.
Yeah. It reminded me, actually, because that was one of the changes in, I don't know, you guys have seen if you've heard of this Snyder cut, that Zack Snyder apparently made a Justice League movie.
Yeah.
And they changed it in editing and whatnot, but one of the things in it that I know when Josh Whedon got his, when he got his grubby little paws on it, there's that scene where Superman comes back from the dead, and he has a whole bit where he's kind of staring down. He finally confronts Batman again, and is kind of on this, I remember him vaguely as the guy who kept trying to kill me in the last movie. And in the Snyder cut, there's like a big scene of him staring him down, and you're kind of like, it looks as if Batman kind of wants him to kill him and stuff out of guilt and things like that. And eventually Superman like laser eye blasts Batman into a police car. And there's a whole thing with he's got like a gauntlet that's based on Wonder Woman's gauntlets that's not in the finished movie, and I think that's why they had to change it for this. It's a whole big but anyway, when Josh Whedon did that, Superman just goes over and backhand slaps Batman into a police car. And it just makes it's just funny because it's just like that's Superman literally just going poof, and it's sending like a friggin' tank of a man flying into a car with a little flick of his wrist and stuff. But it really reminded me of that. It's the same thing. Like, yeah, the backhand slapping anybody just looks disrespectful and kind of makes, it's kind of if they end up going flying and particularly if they're men in giant rubber suits, it's always going to be a little funny. So
Yep. I'm on board with it.
It's one of those things. Like, I know this movie's not realistic in any way, shape, or form, but from rocket launches, like Cape Canaveral and stuff, people usually aren't allowed within like a mile of those rocket launches.
But this is experimental technology.
I would enjoy if Robin jumped onto it and just instantly got burned off. And I was just like, that was the end of him. Guess he probably should have had some sort of safety measurements in mind. But
Robin's plan or lack of plan is quite interesting, isn't it? I'm just going to jump onto this rocket that's about to fire. It's fine.
Yeah.
This'll work.
Yeah.
There's no downsides to it. Nothing can go wrong.
There's also that, again, one of those handy dandy Batman things that they all have just when they need them. These, magnets. Always with the magnets, this guy.
Magnets, how do they work?
I kind of do wish, like, because, I guess you could argue, like, well, maybe him and Batman are having to cling to a lot of metal stuff. So maybe the magnets make more sense than having ice skates in the boots.
I get. He could have magnetized, like, boots and gloves or something. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. I do kind of wish, though, he had gone for, like, a lasso, and then, like, he gets to the top of the rocket, and then the whole scene of Robin climbing up the side is it's him climbing up the side of the rocket with his feet, a la the 60s Batman show.
Yeah.
And then you can have, like, a random celebrity pop his head out on the way up.
That'd be amazing.
Buzz Aldrin popping his head out and like, oh boy, not this again. But tragically, they didn't go far enough for this movie. I think it's the problem.
Fools.
But yeah, so we got a Dick jumping and grabbing hold of a large phallic object as it slowly rises into its erect position. Gotta say too, I don't know if there's no evidence in this museum that they've knocked out a single thug. Like, no. All of them get away. Like, it is very much like, I guess Dick is just like, I'm going with, if there's a rocket, I'm going with that. So
yeah, he's useless.
But it's kind of like, Batman does admonish him like a couple minutes time for being like, were you going to be in the museum, round up some thugs? It's like, yeah, because all of them got away. Like, literally, I guess.
Every single thug got away, so.
It'd be handy for Mr. Freeze because somebody has to drive this truck back now as well. I mean, he's taken off from the... But then to get in you'd have to wait for a while for that to all cool down, I guess, because you hop in, start to drive the rest of the Freeze-mobile away. It's all going to be this, like, it just had a giant rocket launch at the back of it. It's going to be, like, sweltering heat and stuff. Yeah, I decided to look, though, because we have a new Batman, of course, this movie. And I was wondering, who is this George Clooney guy? Just who the hell does he think he is? So I got some base level notes about one George Timothy Clooney, which, no offense to anyone called Timothy, because there are some good, Timothy Olyphant's obviously a cool guy, but it doesn't, George Clooney's so suave and stuff. His middle name being Tim doesn't really, it just kind of is a bit jarring to me.
Timmy.
But yeah.
That's all I can think of.
You a big Clooney fan, Allyson, in general, or?
I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily say I'm a huge. I mean, I like him. It's just one of those where he shows up in a movie. I'm never like, especially jazz. Like, he's not somebody who I've gone and seen a movie because George Clooney's in it. But every time I see him in a movie, he does a good job. So
I think that's the best way to put it. Yeah, he wouldn't make me rush out to see a film, but I also would be like, oh, he's here, cool.
My only problem with him as an actor, and it still is kind of true for his early stuff, I could never understand what he was saying.
Oh, he mumbles, yeah.
Yeah, I remember everyone loved Out of Sight, and when I watched it when I was like 13, I was sitting, everything, you just kind of sits and talk like this the whole time. And even to this day, I rewatched it recently, but like, all right, but get psyched up for the show, rewatch Out of Sight. And there's a scene of him where him and Jennifer Lopez are having like their kind of big romantic moment mid-movie. And he's cracking jokes that I still can't make out. She'll say like, wave to me in the elevator. Like, what?
Well, it doesn't help that we're foreign to him. There are certain American accents where I'm like, I don't know what they're saying.
I think he has just got this kind of natural, relaxed thing about him, though, where he's just like, I don't know.
He does, yeah. Yeah, I'm currently of the point where I watch every movie with subtitles on, so I'm not I'm good for some of those, but
so that's why I do that too. And then I lived with a guy, and he always complained like, "Why do you have the subtitles on?" It's like in case I missed something. And now apparently he drives his girlfriend crazy because she's always, "Why do you keep the subtitles on?" And he's like, "In case I missed something."
You've trained him well.
Yeah, so I'm spreading it around. So it's gonna...
Is this our friend Jimmy by any chance?
It is. It is indeed. Yeah. But yes, so George Clooney, in case you didn't know, he's an actor. He's quite famous. But he was born in Lexington, Kentucky, the horse capital of the world, don't you know? On May 6th, 1961. So he's got a birthday coming up. Although, will be past by the time this airs, I guess.
Well, yeah.
I remember at the time, and it's still in all the promo material, where they keep emphasizing, oh, he's like an older Batman. Like, he's like older sage Batman. He's a Batman.
What?
You know he's old. He's in his mid-30s. And I'm like, what?
No.
He's still young. He's still young. But at the same time, I feel a bit guilty, because I remember when I first saw George Clooney, when they announced him as Batman, as a kid, and I was like, he's got gray hair. He's old.
He's old.
He's like an old man.
To be fair, when you are a kid, you see gray hair and you're like, oh, that is the epitome of old.
Yeah.
And now, as I'm almost 30 and starting to see a gray hair here or there, you're like, no, you're still pretty young.
Well, as of recording, I'm 35 tomorrow and can't really grow any hair. So I don't know, is that worse?
Clooney would have been 36 at the time of playing Batman, so not old at all.
So old, guy.
Yeah.
He's a year older than I am.
Yeah.
See, this is what's confusing to me, right? He looks considerably older than I think I look, right? And I don't mean that as a diss, because he looks cool, right? But he looks like he's a man. You know?
Oh, I feel the exact same way sometimes, where it's like, I don't think I looked that old, and then I watch an older movie and the characters and the actors are considerably younger than me, but I'm still like, I'm younger than them, right?
Yeah, that's right. What happens to me. And you're like, nah. And you look them up and it'll be like 23. Like, what?
Yeah.
You're like, no.
I think it actually happens in, I watch, with my friend Dave. We always watch Hell's Kitchen, the Gordon Ramsay show, because it's trash and it's good fun. I don't know if it's because the high stress environment of working in a kitchen, but it'll keep cutting to these contestants, and you're like, oh, that guy's like, what, like 39? And it's like 22 years old. You're like, what?
It's like, you've lived a hard life to get to, you look tired. You need to just, take some sleep.
Yeah.
I think working in a kitchen's going to age you. Except
for,
may he rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain, who looked very cool until the end.
Yeah.
He sure did.
I guess you could argue that this is why Clooney Batman has the gray hair. He's like, well, it's a stressful life. What do you want from me? But at the same time, though, looking at Clooney back on this, it's like, oh, he looks so young now, because we've had 20 plus years of not even nowadays. Clooney still looks great, but it's like, oh, he's a silver fox. He has been.
Yeah, I think he's one of those who looks better as he ages.
Yes, very much so, yeah. But the thing is, though, they emphasize in all the publicity material, like, oh, so he's an older Batman. He's more, I was going to say wizened. He's not wizened, but he's more, wise and sage. And they wanted someone to have a bigger age gap between Chris O'Donnell and Bruce Wayne, because they thought that, Val Kilmer looked too young. Val Kilmer was older than George Clooney when he played Batman. So I guess that's a bit of a knock to Clooney, that he was 36, Kilmer was 37. And they thought, like, oh, he looks too much like the kid we got here. Although, of course, that kid been a man near 30 playing a teenager. So there's a lot of flawed thinking all over that goddamn casting association. But so Clooney here is, I think at the time of casting, he would have been 35. Val Kilmer was 36. Michael Keaton was 37 in 1989 when they cast him for Batman. So it's like, as I'm saying, this is the character getting older. He's progressively getting younger every goddamn time you see him, really. But at this point, though, George Clooney is only just breaking big. Prior to this, and his big movie that they hired him for this on the strength of was From Dusk Till Dawn. The Robert Rodriguez movies co-starring Harvey Keitel and Quentin Tarantino. Very, very good movie. And of course he was on, was a acclaimed television actor at that. But prior to getting to this point in his career, George Clooney had 30 screen credits before he hit big.
Oh, whoa. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. That's considerable.
Yeah, because that's like, you think now, it's like, oh yeah, you made like 3, some of these actors, like maybe 5 or 6, and then you'll make it. You'll finally break through if you're going to break through. But like, no, George Clooney working from 1978 on the trot every year, constantly on TV and in movies and stuff. His first credited role is as an extra on a TV show called Centennial, which starred Michael Ansara, who was the voice of Mr. Freeze in the Batman animated series. So
everything's connected.
Everything is connected.
Coming full circle.
Yeah. Of course, then in the 80s, he worked on a short-lived and not very well-remembered medical show called ER. And then later on, he starred in a long-lived and very well-remembered medical show called ER. Apparently, there was 2 TV shows called ER, one E/R, starring Elliot Gould and George Clooney, that lasted 22 episodes. And then, of course, like I guess mixed up the paperwork or something in the early 90s, and they accidentally hired the same guy or something. But yeah, it went on to be.
See, I thought you were making a joke, but then it was real.
No, he was actually in 2 shows. I was going to make a Northern English joke and saying he should be in an English drama called Here You Are, because over here that would be yeah.
Oh God! No, even I was like stumped there. I was thinking, what?
The entire time I was making my notes, I was just thinking, "Oh, it's gonna slay that joke."
Are you from Yorkshire all of a sudden?
Well, my brother does live there, John. So. Oh. But yeah, prior to ER and the other ER and Centennial, well, around the same time as Centennial, George Clooney also appeared in such things as Throb, which is a TV show starring Jane Leeves of Frasier and Paul Walker. Street Hawk, which was it's kind of like a Knight Rider, but it's a bike.
Oh, that sounds cool already.
Oh.
Yeah, he was on The Facts of Life, and as I'm sure him and Pat Hingle must have got on like a house on fire, because he was in 2 episodes of Murder, She Wrote as 2 different characters, which is just standard. It's like, oh yeah, you can't just appear in Murder, She Wrote once. You got to appear at least twice, and it has to be as 2 completely different people.
It's probably in the contract, like, yeah.
So we got you for 1, then we'll get you for another one in 3 years' time. Don't worry, the show will run forever. We'll definitely need you again. He is also in a show called Baby Talk, created by Amy Heckerling, who, of course, directed Clueless, starring Alicia Silverstone, and was a regular on Roseanne, which is, that was a popular show back. I think that was what he was prior to ER. He was known as like a guy who was in Roseanne, basically. So, but yeah, I guess it got like a friggin' 2 Emmy nominations, 3 Golden Globe nominations for ER, and then he gets From Dusk Till Dawn, and now he's here. Now he's friggin' Batman. He finally, after 30 screen credits and nearly 20 years in the biz, finally leaps into like, I made it, baby. I'm Batman. Nothing can go wrong.
Nope, there's no downsides at all to being in this. To be honest, I know it gets slated and his performance gets dissed, but you know what? I think it actually helped him overall. it brought him his name and face to a wider audience.
But I'm going to say it was probably ER. Did a lot of that though. ER and Out of Sight. I
don't know. I didn't watch ER at the time. I was a child. I watched this. Allyson, would you like to tell our listeners where you can be found online, or plug any of your work, or whatever you want?
Sure, you can find me on Twitter at WRITERSERENYTY. I do Gaming Fix with a bunch of other folks. It's a weekly video game podcast, and you can find us on Twitter at FYX Podcasts.
Hey, check that out, and you know all of our stuff by now. Come and speak to us on Facebook at the Bat-Minute Listeners Cave, Twitter at Bat-Minute, Instagram is the Bat-Minute, and look up the Sleepy Charlie Media Patreon. That's always helpful, where you get lovely, lovely bonus episodes for next to nothing. Helps us keep the lights on. So we will see you all again on Wednesday for more Bat-Minute and Robin.
Next time... Holy ice mittens! Whilst soaring into the midnight sky, a caped Clooney gives capturing a criminal a good old college try. But as a botched ambush sees the shadowy Chevalier seized in ice cuffs in the corner of the room, which ascending digits will prove to be the harbingers of his doom? We advise wrapping up warm for this next episode, folks. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
We'll be back.